Shalom. Call Allah Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai. All praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, GMS, that do teach one, that do rule one, that have taught me this truth to you. I say Shalom and Shalom unto the hopeful elect. Shalom to the hopeful elect, especially. May Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai be with you in the spirit, which he will. But yeah, that's what it's about. The Lord is coming back for the elect of the nation of Israel. You are going to receive that mark of exemption, pursuing to Ezekiel 9 and 4. The Lord is coming back for you. But I'm sure you've seen this if you've been keeping up with current events in the news as of late. It says Trump says Iran must now make peace or face additional U.S. strikes. And yeah, so now he's coming out with this speech confirming that he gave the order to bomb those 3 nuclear facilities in Iran. So pretty much he just made war with Iran. And now you're going in the territory of messing with the interests of the bear, which is the North country, which is Russia, and also Moab, the so-called Chinese. And you know what the scripture says, if you keep poking the bear, you know what's going to happen, man. Eventually, Russia, pursuing the prophecy, especially Jeremiah 50, I think it's the 58th, the 50th chapter, and the 8th verse on down, talks about the men from the north country rising up against you. And also Ezekiel the 38th chapter, going into Gog and Magog, the hooks being in thy jaw. And that's what you're doing. You're going to draw Russia in, and that's going to cause World War III. You know, this is exciting to see, but it's not over yet, because more things have to play out in terms of prophecy as well. You need the MOTB to come to pass before they start shooting off missiles. So a full-blown World War III hasn't started yet, but this is good to see, because this is what we've been prophesying about, starting with our elders and apostles for years, well, really decades, right? And now it's coming to pass. But now, just going back to this, man, this guy and his men that serve underneath him are very, very proud, man. Very proud. And we know what the scripture says about pride. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before fall. You can see the pride reading off these, man. Look at J.D. Vance, look at Trump, and look at Marco Rubio, man. You can see the pride, man. And you know, he had the audacity, Donald Trump, to say, God bless America and Israel. Well, yeah, you're right. You know, the Lord is going to bless America and Israel. He's going to bless them by the way of nuclear fire. They're going to be baptized by fire. That's how they're going to be blessed. So you're right. They are going to be blessed with fire, because that's headed your way, pursuant to Ezekiel the 38th chapter and the 39th chapter. Yeah, that North country is going to come up against you and blow you the fuck up. And also the dragons of Arabia, they're going to strike back. Since I mentioned that, it says, here's another article, Times of India. And it says, all links will be in the description, by the way. You started it, we will end it. Iran media warns Donald Trump after strikes on nuclear sites. Airs map of U.S. military bases in Middle East. And this caused a lot of problems, man. This is causing a lot of problems. But what does the scripture say? I'm going to get it. This is Proverbs chapter 21, verse 1. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh. As the rivers of water, he turneth it whithersoever he will. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but Yahweh pondereth the hearts. That's true. So, hey, the Lord, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, is working on the minds of the kings of the earth through the angels, right? And he's having them do certain things to fulfill prophecy. And it says, every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. That's true. And that's how the actions of men are, you know, especially the proud heart of a wicked man is very ingenious when it comes to making a foul matter appear right when it's far from being so. And you can see it by the way he's talking, man. You know, this guy did wickedness, And he's making it seem like he did righteousness, man. In this fucking cheesy ass speech. What the fuck? Now, it says here, just going back, but Yahweh pondereth the hearts, and that's true. He pondereth the hearts, and he judges you according to your actions, and and to the principles and intentions, of what you're doing. But pretty much, man, you're gonna reap what you sow. If you do wickedness, man, you're gonna get judged, and you're most likely gonna get a brutal death. And if you do righteousness, you're gonna get a righteous reward. And they're doing wickedness, man. They're doing wickedness. Okay, the people that run this place, the people that run Babylon, they're being wicked, and that's what they're gonna receive: judgment, comeuppance. All right. You get this, verse 3: to do justice and judgment is more acceptable than sacrifice. True. And I think about Israel first, obviously, because the scriptures will apply to Israel first and foremost, but it can apply to people that are not in this truth too, because this book is a guide. But anyways, I'm going to start with our people, just switching gears a bit. Our people, man, many of our people deceive themselves with a type of conceit that, if they offer some type of sacrifice, it will excuse them from doing justice, and it procures some type of dispensation for their unrighteousness, right? So what they did, it's like they're trying to make it seem right for what they did, even though what they did was wrong, right? You fast for strife, you sacrifice for strife, you sacrifice for wickedness. You go through the motions. You don't display your obedience because you love Yahweh B'Shem Yoshai. It's for your own needs, because you're in the flesh. You're wicked and carnal as hell. And that's our people. Let me get a precept. This is Isaiah chapter 58, verse 3. And it says, wherefore have we fasted, say they, and thou seest not? Wherefore have we afflicted our soul, and thou takest no knowledge? Behold, in the day of your fast ye find pleasure, and exact all your labors. Behold, ye fast for strife and debate, and to smite with the fist of wickedness. Ye shall not fast as ye do this day, to make your voice to be heard on high. Is it such a fast that I have chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul? Is it to bow down his head as a bulrush, and to spread sackcloth and ashes under him? Wilt thou call this a fast and an acceptable day to Yahweh B'Shem Yoshai? So what are you really fasting for? What are you really sacrificing for if your heart's not in the right place? Right, and that's our people. That's our people. They just go through the motions of things. So they can seem like they're innocent, even though they're being wicked the whole time. But this was a sacrifice, for these people, to make it seem like they were doing a right thing, to excuse them. And the reason why I say this is because I was reading a statement that was made by a Russian political analyst, and he made a statement here, right? This sacrifice was just good because it appeased the interests of the United States. It wasn't to really bring forth any type of peace. So it says, Sergei Markov, political analyst: why did the U.S. choose to strike Iran now after years? And by the way, the article is called, I'll get it before I read that. It's from RT.com. If Iran falls, we're next. What Russian experts and politicians are saying about the U.S. strikes. RT has gathered reactions in Moscow, ranging from geopolitical alarm to bitter irony following the U.S. attack on Iran's nuclear sites. All right, so let's read this guy's statement here. So, Sergei Markov, political analyst: why did the U.S. choose to strike Iran now after years of restraint? The answer is simple: fear. For decades, Washington held back out of concern that any attack would trigger a wave of retaliatory terror attacks, possibly hundreds, carried out by sleeper cells tied to Iran and its allies like Hezbollah. So sleeper cells are like agents that can be switched on or switched off to destroy a country within, right? So yeah. Anyways, that's the best way I'm explaining, for a lack of better words, you know what I mean. You can go look it up yourself and you get the actual definition. But it says here, the prevailing assumption was that Iran had quietly prepared networks across the U.S. and Israel, ready to unleash chaos in response. But Israel's war in Lebanon dispelled that myth. The feared sleeper cells never materialized. Once that became clear, both Israel and the U.S. realized they could strike Iran with minimal risk of serious blowback. And so, ironically, Iran's restraint, its perceived peacefulness, has paved the way to war. There's a lesson in that for Russia. When the West senses both a willingness to negotiate and a refusal to submit, it responds not with diplomacy, but with force. That is a true face of Western imperialism. And that's true. And that's true. Now let me get this, man. This is Daniel chapter 8, verse 25. This is the MO. This is how this devil moves. I believe this is going into Antiochus when you go into Daniel the 8th chapter. I think it's Epiphanes. I think it's the 4th. But Trump and these devils, they're moving in that same spirit. So it says, Daniel chapter 8 and verse 25, it says, and through his policy also he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. And that's his MO. Trump says Iran must now make peace or face additional U.S. strikes. But he's bringing war. And this act that he did, he believes that's going to bring forth peace. But he's not coming with peace. He's coming with destruction. You can see it. War is in his heart. War was in their hearts. And that's how these devils move. This has nothing to do with peace. But as we read here, it just suits their interests. This has nothing to do with bringing peace. This is to gain more control. Right? That's why I was just comparing it to Proverbs 21:3 here. Right? So anyways, let me just go back to Proverbs chapter 21 verse 4. And high look and a proud heart and the plowing of the wicked is sin. That's true. That's true. That's what we see here. And let me go back and read a little bit, because now I want to go into the topic of the North Country. I'll read this first, and then I'll read a little bit of the statements. So this is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse, I'm going to start at verse 8. It says, remove out of the midst of Babylon and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flocks. For lo, I'll raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken, their arrows shall be as of a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain, and Chaldea shall be a spoil, and all that spoil her shall be satisfied, saith Yahweh. And the great nations from the north country starts with Russia. Right, that starts with them, and they're going to shoot their arrows, being their missiles, as a mighty expert man. That's why they call it intercontinental ballistic missiles. It goes from one continent to another. So it's not talking about a bow and arrow or a crossbow. It's talking about rockets, okay, missiles, nuclear ones, hypersonic. And they're going to destroy Babylon the Great. Let's get another one. This is Ezekiel chapter 38. Verse 1, and the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord power, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth, and all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. There you go. Shows that they have a very big army, a very strong army. And the Lord said here, turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And this is reeling them in to the battle. Because if you mess with Iran, you're messing with Russia's interests. So Russia eventually is going to have to get involved. And we know Vladimir Putin, he already came out and he said some things. He didn't really answer certain questions in regards to helping Iran. But you can tell, man, that he will support Iran if push comes to shove. I believe one of the Russian journalists asked him, are you willing to support Iran in this time by supplying them weapons or more missiles if they were to run out? And he answered that, well, he didn't really answer it. He just said, our Iranian friends haven't really asked us for help before, and I'm going to leave it at that. So he's really implying, look, you know, pretty much what I get from it, if they ask us for help, I'm going to help them. Right? And that's why he kept it really brief. He didn't really answer the question. And that's how politicians are. They don't really answer questions. But you can tell, man, he will help them if they ask. That's what you're supposed to extrapolate from that statement he made, man. But, you know, pursuing the prophecy, he's going to get involved. Anyways, let's go back. Verse 5, it says Persia, which Persia, Carmanians, Elam, which is really Iran. You're the Persians. That's Gog and Magog's ally. Ethiopia, Cush, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee. Be thou prepared, and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. That's right. So don't mess with these guys. These are Russia's allies, and they're going to get involved with World War III too, especially Persia, Iran. That's why it says here, you started it, we will end it. And that's going back into that nature, and going back to Ishmael, and also going back to the dragons of Arabia, pursuant to 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter and the 28th verse on down. Going back into that wild nature, and they're going to get wild, and buck wild, and they're going to blow the United States up. Now it says Iran media warns Donald Trump after strikes on nuclear sites, airs map of U.S. military bases in the Middle East. So yeah, if you're American in the Middle East, you're a target. Okay, you're a target. Now let's go back to the statements. Let's see what Dmitry Medvedev says. Dmitry Medvedev, deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, former president of Russia. So what exactly did the U.S. accomplish with its midnight strike on 3 targets in Iran? Number 1, Iran's critical nuclear infrastructure appears to be intact, or at worst only minimally damaged. Uranium enrichment will continue, and let's just say it plainly now, so will Iran's pursuit of nuclear weapons. Several countries are reportedly ready to supply Iran with nuclear warheads directly. Several countries. I don't know who. They're not saying it, but okay, several. So several, when you go into 7, it really means completion. That's not good. Israel is under fire. Explosions are echoing through its cities, and civilians are panicking. The U.S. is now entangled in yet another conflict, this one carrying the very real possibility of a ground war. Iran's political leadership has not only survived, it may have grown stronger. Even Iranians who oppose the regime are now rallying around it. Donald Trump, the self-styled peace president, has just launched a new war. There you go. The overwhelming majority of the international community is siding against the U.S. and Israel. At this rate, Trump can kiss that Nobel Peace Prize goodbye, despite how absurdly compromised the award has become. All right. I'll read this, guys. Vladimir Batyuk, Chief Research Fellow at the Institute for U.S. and Canadian Studies, Russian Academy of Sciences. Trump has crossed a red line. We're now facing the real possibility of a major military confrontation. Iran could retaliate by striking U.S. military installations across the Middle East. And there you go, and that's why they said it right here. Airs map of U.S. military bases in Middle East, threatening to attack it. So that's true, that's on point. Anyways, it says, prompting Washington to respond in kind that would mark the beginning of a drawn-out armed conflict. One the U.S. may find increasingly difficult to contain. What we're witnessing looks very much like a victory for the so-called deep state. Many had expected Trump to hold back to avoid taking the bait, but he allowed himself to be pulled into a high-risk gamble whose consequences are impossible to predict. And politically, this may backfire. If the standoff with Iran sends oil prices soaring, the fallout could be severe. In the United States, gasoline prices are sacrosanct. Any administration that allows them to spiral out of control faces serious domestic repercussions. For Trump, this could turn into a serious vulnerability. True, I guess. It's on point. But yeah. Yeah, man. So, let me get another one. Let me get Job chapter 20, verse 18. That which he labored for shall he restore, and shall not swallow it down according to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. Because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away in a house which he builded not, surely he shall not feel quietness in his belly. He shall not save of that which he desired. There shall none of his meat be left, therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked shall come upon him. True. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. So yes, World War III isn't going to happen right now, just because of what Donald Trump did. It's not going to happen right now. Them missiles aren't going to go flying, because other prophecies have to play out. And that's why I'm reading Job 20, because when he is about to fulfill his NWO, all his plans, bring forth the MOTB and getting everybody chipped, then that's when the Lord is going to rain missiles upon him. He's going to cause these other nations to shoot nukes. So more has to play out, and this is the proof of that. But we're very, very close. We are very, very close. And this is a beautiful thing to see, because we have been prophesying about this for many years, starting with our apostles and elders, of course. And now it's coming to pass. So it's a beautiful thing. Now, let me read verse 23. When he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow of steel shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. All darkness shall be hid in his secret places. A fire not blown shall consume him. It shall go ill with him that is left in his tabernacle. There you go. The heaven shall reveal his iniquity, and the earth shall rise up against him. There you go, man. And he's going to be destroyed. America is going to be destroyed. All right. Let me get this. Revelation chapter 13, verse 16. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the number of the beast, or the number of his name. So World War III can't happen. The nukes can't be shot off and the world being destroyed if the MOTB doesn't come. This has to play out first. This has to play out. And we're real close, man. Remember, they're going to bring the digital euro in October 2025. You heard Christine Lagarde going into a digital euro, going into the European Central Bank, the ECB, and all these different banks across Europe. They're going to take on the digital euro. So that has to play out. The world can't end just yet. That has to play out first. So yeah, man, that's all I want to go into. I hope this was edifying. Till next time, just want to give all praises, glory, and honor due unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakah HaKodash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Newsome of GMS, TYC Shalom, and Shalom unto the hopeful elect, Kwame Ashal and Abba Ball.